My name is Scott Williquit. My wife is Victoria. She's not able to be with me today. She's teaching Sunday school and playing the piano at our church in Marshall, Michigan. I'm assistant pastor there, unpaid. I just help a little bit here and there. And she's involved in teaching ministry and piano and organ and all those kinds of things. So she's very valuable. I'm not particularly, but she really is. So what we do for ministry is I pastored for 19 years. Some of you remember this. Some of you maybe are new. I pastored for 19 years in Rockford, Illinois. And then the Lord directed in our lives in such a way that we desired to be involved in this kind of a teaching ministry. And this is PEP, Pastoral Enrichment Program, which I've said since the day I started it. It's, if you want to think in terms of what is this, it's Bible college out of a suitcase. That's kind of what it is. So we go to third world countries. Your pastor's done very similar ministry. So the kind of reports he's brought back, that's the kind of thing we do on a consistent basis, 4 or 5, maybe 6 trips a year kind of a thing. So we go to third world or countries. They used to call them third world. Now they call them developing nations. We go to those countries where there's very little education for most individuals. So there are Bible colleges popping up in most of these places. But we are dealing with those who can't afford to go. I mean, you can have a Bible college across the street, but if you're poor and can't afford to go, you can't afford to go. Or if there's a language issue, in some cases, in some of the countries we go, the Bible college or seminaries are English speaking because they want their graduates to really develop in their English, which will help them in their ministries and help them if they need to get a job while they're in ministry. Well, there are men in these countries who don't speak English well enough to pass the entrance exam to get into the college. So they might be gifted spiritually, they might be desirous of pastoral ministry, and they might be even involved in it already to some degree, but they don't qualify to get into the local school. And I've got an illustration of that in one of the countries we'll look at. So in bottom line, we go to train men and women. Women are allowed to come to our courses, even the preaching course. We call it expository preaching and teaching, because we want gifted women, gifted ladies, to develop their skills to be able to teach other ladies and children in the church. God has gifted some ladies amazingly in regard to understanding the scriptures and teaching. They will not be pastors. They will not preach authoritatively to men, but they're still gifted, and so we want to train them as well. So bottom line is we're going to places that are third world. So hot, humid, bugs, they eat the bugs. Those are the kinds of places where we go. And so let me just jump right in. Okay, I think I have it on. There we go. Okay. That's my wife, Victoria, to remind you. And those are 4 of our 5 grandchildren, Asa, Evie, Adrian, and Barrett. And this is Christmas, and they're a highlight of our lives. If any grandparents will tell you that. It's so wonderful. You have them when they're cute, and when they get to be a pain, you give them back. So it's wonderful. Actually, Evie has a baby brother now. He's 3.5 months old. So anyway, we enjoy our grandchildren immensely. We live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, just to remind you of that. That's our hub. We bounce from there. I fly out of Detroit Airport each time I'm going to wherever I'm going. PEP, enriching the mind, encouraging the spirit, enhancing the ministry of men who are already in ministry. Often we're teaching men who are in ministry and have little or no formal training. And because that's true, often the ministries are not the highest quality. The preaching sometimes is bad. Preaching in some of these countries is just not good, not biblical preaching. And so our goal is to help them, to prepare them better, to equip them better. So reaching future generations by training God's shepherds. When you think of a missionary, the first question you ask is, where do you go? Where are you planting a church? We're not planting a church anywhere. Our ministry is not evangelistic. But we do, as we're training pastors, and this is how it is here, you have a well-trained shepherd. He trains his people well in the Word of God, and they are the evangelistic force in that community. That's what should be happening here. It's not like he's the only one who should be evangelizing. We're all called to make disciples, every single one of us. The pastor's job is to prepare God's people for the work of ministry. So our ministry is indirectly evangelistic, because as we're training men and women, and then those men particularly are training God's people in the churches, equipping those people, then they're able to minister to those in their villages and towns and so forth. So our ministry really, this is Paul's second and third missionary journey. Paul, went back to his churches, the churches that he planted, and strengthened those churches. Our ministry is basically Paul's second and third missionary journey. We go back. We don't preach the gospel. I mean, if I'm preaching a sermon in a church, the gospel certainly will be in there. But our primary goal is not to preach the gospel, but to train men and women. And as we're confirming and strengthening the disciples, then they're able to serve God more faithfully. So we're Paul's second, third missionary journey. People ask where we go, and that's my answer is what I already gave you. Hot, humid bugs, big bugs, they eat the bugs. That's where we go. All right? They never send us to places where it's 70 degrees and there's lapping water on the white, pristine beaches. And I would never go there. I don't know. I got to encourage that to happen more, but I'm not sure you'd really want to be supporting that, so I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to show you 3 different places. Chad, first of all. I've been in Chad 8 or 10 times now. Here's one of those trips. So Chad is right here. This is Central African Republic, CAR, right in the center. And Chad is here. We're going to look at Ghana in a little while. Ghana is right there. But for now, Chad. You land here in N'Djamena, the largest city, and then you either take a MAF flight, MAF, Missionary Aviation Fellowship, or you take a 15-hour bus that is horrific. Horrific. My last time I was there, it was 120. It was the worst time of the year to go, my last time I was there. And the buses are just, I can't describe them, how old and bad they are. And the Chadians don't like air conditioning blowing on them. So if there's air conditioning on any particular bus that you're on, if it actually still works, they'll stuff Kleenex up into the vents. So you're sitting there and there's nothing blowing on you. I mean, you might try to take a pencil and kind of wiggle the tissue paper around to get something coming, but it's just hot and the smell is indescribably fun. And then there's the pulling off the road here and there to men go that direction in the bush and women go that direction in the bush and that kind of thing. So it's either a 15-hour bus ride that can end up being 17 hours, and I've had that, or a MAF flight. But the MAF flight, which is 2.5 hours, is really expensive. So sometimes we just can't do that. Often we can't do that. Okay, so again, so you land here and you drive or fly down to SAR. And guys are gathering from all over the country in SAR for the training. Just to give you kind of just some pictures I've taken over the years. I love this picture. It's just a missionary picture to me, landing on some strip in the middle of nowhere to pick up some other guys. And it's just a dirt strip. Is that me? It's not even with me. Okay, we'll see if I won't move. This is Chad from the air, very flat. So cell phone reception is outstanding because there's nothing blocking anything. It's really, really flat. Okay, different times of the year. I'm going to show you different times of the year. So this is the end of the rainy season. Temperature is about 94 to 98. Things are green. But my first 4 trips there, I went during the dry season, so I didn't know what it looked like green. And then I happened to go one time during this season of the year, and everything's green. Bananas and other fruits. It's really different. There's the cattle going through, and there's green, vegetation and grass and so forth. These are the guys who are driving the cattle. This is a standard places people live. If you're in a town or a city, there will be cement block structures and some of this. But if you're out in the bush at all, that's where we are largely, this is mud hut construction with a thatched roof. So, mud block. But notice how great. I love this picture because of the juxtaposition of the Gilligan's Island hut and then the motorcycle. I just think that's interesting to see how that works. And that's the major mode of transportation is a motorcycle. And often it's one motorcycle per family. There might be bicycles as well. Very rarely does anyone have a car. Okay, just giving you an idea. These are the living conditions. Okay, dry season, 100 to 120, things are brown. I don't know what these cattle are eating. I don't know what they're finding that's worth eating, but they're trying to survive. Just really, really brown. That's a typical village. You're driving along the road and a village pops up. And that's kind of what it looks like. Now, I don't know if I've ever explained this to you. So, mom and dad will sleep in one hut. Kids will sleep in other huts. The living room is right here. The kitchen is a lean-to somewhere over here where they make food. There's a reason this is the living room. Notice it's all dirt. So I was over the years at different church compounds and people's homes and such, and it's always dirt. There's no grass. And I asked one time, what's the deal here in Africa? Don't you guys grow grass in Chad? Why do I see dirt everywhere? And I was given the answer. Every snake, except for 2 in Africa, is venomous. So when a Chadian sees a snake, he doesn't go, oh, which one is that? And he's cute. No, they just grab something and kill it. They just kill it because it's probably 99.9%. It's venomous and it could kill you. So they kill all snakes. And then the other thing is the insects. They're venomous. Scorpions and various and sundry other kinds of bugs that will kill you. One time I was in a missionary's home. We're staying there during one of these trips. And it was a Friday night, and they had a bunch of people over, a few other missionaries and other people. And I was back in my room, and I came out. They were playing Uno or something, some crazy game that missionaries like to play. So they're playing Uno, and I come out, and I'm in shorts, because it's purgatory, as far as heat. I'm in shorts and flip-flops, right? And I see this black centipede about this long, 3 inches at least, and about 3/4 of an inch thick. And this is a pretty big centipede. It's jet black. And his legs are just moving along. And I just yelled to somebody, hey, what's the deal with this? And I start kicking it with my foot. So I'm kicking it, it's coming back at me. I kick it again, it comes back at me. And I keep doing that. What's this? What do you call this? What is this? And one of the missionary ladies did a Spider-Man. She saw that, she freaked out, leaped in the air, grabbed her shoe, landed on this centipede, and just beat it to bits. Centipede guts everywhere. I thought, wow, this is a fun group, Okay, what's the deal with this? Every leg on that centipede is venomous. And I'm kicking it like an idiot, with my bare feet. It's the stupid American. And that's why. So what they'll do is they tear up all the grass. So in the dry season, the kids are playing in dirt, and the rainy season, they're playing in mud. But at least they'll live. Okay, so that's why. So that is the living room right there. My wife really wanted me to take pictures of any animals I could. This was actually my first trip. I happened to see a camel. I took that for her. But mostly the animals, they've been stripped from that part of Chad. I was at the river one time nearby, and guy fishing. I saw hippos. That was interesting. You don't get too near those dudes. They're serious. They're deadly. Okay, preaching on Sundays in the churches. So this is a typical church. Again, mud block or concrete block. And if you ever think you might want to complain about the chairs you're sitting in, don't. This is what they sit on every Sunday. So here's a service, men on one side, ladies on the other side, very common, all right? This particular church, someone gave that for their offering that Sunday, a bag of peanuts. Cool. So I've never been given an honorarium ever in preaching in these churches in these various countries. So I'm leaving, and I'm staying with some missionaries in the area, and we're about to get in the car, and the pastor runs up, and he's giving me an honorarium. It's a live chicken. Here, take this. This is yours. Thank you for preaching, And I'm like, I don't think I can fit that in my luggage. I'm not sure I can get it through customs, So he was insistent. The missionary took it, and the missionary lady used it in the appropriate fashion. So anyway, a live chicken. I'm not sure your pastor will really want that. You need live chickens? Oh, sure. Or bags of peanuts. Bring him a bag of peanuts just for fun sometime. Okay, so this is another church service. And often when I'm there's me wearing another Chadian shirt similar to this one. I'll explain that later. Often when I'm there or you're there as an American guest, they pull out all the stops and they serve a meal afterwards. So that's what's happening here. So this is Gideon, my translator, has become a very good friend. He's translated for me every time I've been there. He's outstanding. Knows English well and French and multiple other dialects. And you see, he's dressed American and I'm dressed Chadian, and there's a reason. If I dress American, I have to wear a tie. That's why I'm wearing this. I'm showing you this is what I wear when I'm there. Because if I dress American there at 100 degrees or 120 degrees, I have to wear a tie. I don't mind wearing a tie, but when it's that hot, I don't want to wear a tie. So I've had a couple shirts made for me so that I can, when you dress Chadian, you can skip the tie. So that's why I'm dressed this way. Actually, your pastor, I was talking to him, and he said, I'd like you to wear your loudest, brightest, weirdest looking shirt in your closet. And so this is why I'm wearing this. No, there's a reason. I want you to see what I wear when I'm in these countries. That is the latrine. I thought I'd show you that. That's a blessing. It's not, but there it is. Okay, Christian school. So the church where the teaching takes place was a piece of land that BMM helped these believers buy like 60 years ago and help them build their building. And it's a large enough piece of land that they've got a Christian school. So I wanted you to just see that. I'll work through these quickly. So there's one particular classroom. And this is how the classes look. Not very high tech. No smart boards in these classrooms. Typically, the Christian schools that believers will establish are so much better than the normal schools. The unsaved people who have any kind of money will send their kids there. So it ends up being a strong evangelistic ministry opportunity. Okay, student life. So this is our students. These are guys getting a drink of water, washing their hands. I can't drink that water. I'll be sick very quickly. But this is what water they use. This is manioc root. They take manioc root and other roots, and they just beat it to death, and then they mix it with different things, and they make what the French word is boule, which means ball. And if you look at boule, this ball of manioc root, or whatever root they use, it looks like like bread dough. Looks like bread dough. So here you are. And they'll take, this is a meal. So this is a hunk of a boule, a piece of boule, and some leafy, gooey, kind of stringy, yucky. And they'll dip the boule into this sauce and eat it, and that's a meal for them. And that's a better meal than they'll often get at home. They'll get meat sometimes, fish sometimes, in the 2 weeks that we're training them, but not all the time. And this is how often they'll do this. So here's a bunch of guys around some boule and this sauce, and they're sitting on their haunches. I don't know about you, but I can't sit that way very long. Try that. See how long you can do it without screaming. But these guys, this is common for them. Okay, so the building that we're teaching in, these guys descend upon this situation, this church, and the first time we did this, the first couple times was 160 guys. And right now the group is dwindling a little to like 100 because most of the guys have been educated and they've moved on. But they're trying to find a place to sleep. So here's a guy, has his mosquito net, has a rug on the concrete floor, and that's what he's sleeping on. Which is probably very similar, by the way, to what he has at home. They don't have mattresses. And if you look real close right here, you see Sealy Posturepedic right there. No, not really. It's just a rug. Okay, so this is the latrine there. You don't want to get downwind of this. I want to share with you the experience. Okay? You don't want to get downwind, believe me. So it's hard for Americans. It's hard for Westerners because these are all squat toilets. I mentioned that to Gideon one time, and the next day he had a present for me. So this has now been called the American toilet. It's just a little bench you can sit on, which, believe me, is a blessing. I know it's funny, but it's a blessing. Okay, teaching expository preaching to 124 students. This was at this particular time going. So that's me and Gideon. These microphones typically don't work. Every once in a while, the electricity will kick on. I had a pastor who was going to take one of these trips, and he said, "Can I do PowerPoint? I love doing PowerPoint." No. You can bring it, you can plug it in, but there's no power 80% of the time. So, so you'll be speaking along and you're yelling as you're speaking because it's a large auditorium and you're yelling to a bunch, and suddenly the mics kick on, and then you're really yelling, So we hand out our notes in their language, in French. The very beginning of the first day, they have our notes. Every word I'm teaching is in the notes, okay? We don't discriminate. We don't mind if we have little kids in there. This is a woman, her husband's in there for training. She's trying to get in there as much as she can when her kids allow her, so there she is. She's got her notes too. These are notes I've put on the board, or had someone else put on the board in French. This is preparing a sermon. So here's how it worked. I was telling your pastor this last night. So in this particular class, it's a class on expository preaching, which I don't think you can just teach lecture. They've got to start to do it or it won't sink in. They have to start a habit of a good preaching. So I've got 100 pages of notes. I take the first 70 pages. I work through them in that first week. We have 2 weeks. There are two classes being taught. Okay, so I'm teaching, another guy's teaching, I'm teaching each day. But that first week, I'm trying to plow through 70 pages of notes. So the second week, I have 30 pages of notes. And then what I do is take the last couple hours from 2 to 5 at the end of the day, and we do what I call a preaching practicum. So we take the whole group, let's just say 120 guys, and we chop them up into groups of 20. 20's over here, 20 over here, and so forth and so on. There's a leader for each group of 20, and that leader subdivides the 20 into groups of 5. All right, 5 guys. So there's a group of 20 over there. Here's the group of 20. You take your 20 and you divide. 5 of your guys go over there. 5 go over there. 5 go over there. And all in this area, the school's out by now. So all the classrooms for the school are free and open. And you'll find groups of 5 scattered all around on this property on benches. And their job is to work through a text. I assign a text the night before. They typically start studying the night before, and then they get together with their group of 5 the next day, and for 2 hours or so, they're working through this text, and they're trying to understand the flow, the author's flow of thought, and the theme of the passage, and so forth, and eventually produce a sermon outline. And then that last 45 minutes to an hour, they come back into their groups of 20, and one guy from each group of 5 will preach a 10-minute sermon, okay? So every guy is going to preach once that week, and the hope is that while they're learning to work through, and we preach through different genres, different types of literature, Psalms, the epistles, narrative, and so forth, so that they start to develop a habit of studying and then preaching. And when they do this, they've never done this before in their lives. This is all totally new to them. Sitting down, hammering out, working through a text, figuring out the meaning of the text, and then organizing that your understanding into a sermonic outline that people will be able to understand. This is not common. And it's not done on their pulpits, so it's not modeled for them either. Okay, so here's the interpretive process really boiled down. So the passage's background and genre, key and repeated words, the author's flow of thought and intended meaning, the passage's main idea or theme, and then the exegetical outline that flows from that text. That's part of what they're trying to accomplish. Now, I've already gone through all this stuff. That's 70 pages the first week. all right? And we also have a class in hermeneutics, the art and science of biblical interpretation, that I've taught them a year or two earlier, okay, that they're also bringing to the table now. So hermeneutics here, and then sermonic outline. Take that exegetical outline and construct a sermonic outline, and then your people can follow, right? So proposition, the main idea, main points, subpoints, conclusion, so forth. And so we're hoping, what should happen is that every sermon that's preached is basically the same sermon. If I give every one of you the same text and say, study that text, figure out the author's intended meaning, and then teach that, every one of us should have basically the same sermon. Because texts don't have different meanings, different applications, but what text means one thing. So if I give 20 guys that text, there should be basically 20 of the same, pretty much, same sermon. So one of our guys is a good French speaker, and during that week, that second week where they're doing this, I had him go from group to group and listen to sermons being preached. And by Wednesday, it was like, yeah, the sermons are pretty much the same. By Thursday and Friday, it was even better, which was really encouraging to me. So anyway, that's what that looks. So here's what it looks like. Here's 5 guys hammering out a sermon, trying to figure out the flow of the text and the author's intended meaning and understanding it and then putting it into a sermonic outline, okay? These are the ladies. Again, there were ladies doing this. I like this right here. I like these. When I see 2 guys kind of doing this. No, it means this. Look at the text. Look at the text. I like when they're dealing with the text. Not my opinion, your opinion. What does the text say? That's fun to watch. Even though I don't speak French, I can basically get what's going on in those discussions. Some guys in a classroom. Okay, now here's at the end of the day, and here's one guy preaching to the larger group of 20. It's another situation similar. Hopefully they're starting to develop habits and patterns by the end of the week. That's our hope anyway. We really can't do much more. Okay, teaching trip in Kathmandu, Nepal. This is actually, I think, 24, not 23. So this is Kathmandu. So Nepal is right here. China right there. China is always trying to gobble up other countries, and there it is. So this is a mountain range. This is the Himalayan mountains. Nepal's right in the middle of it. So everywhere you look when you're in Nepal, you see hills and mountains, or valleys, because you're just in the middle of a mountain range. I wish I could say I took these pictures. I stole them from off the internet, but this is the Himalayan mountains. This one too. This is kind of a Sound of Music picture to me. Anyway, beautiful, really beautiful. So life in Kathmandu, just a couple things. First of all, let me show you. So this structure right here, you get a good picture of the building structures. They go like 3 or 4 stories high. And what I'm doing is I'm in this church structure. They're renting one of those structures. One floor is the pastor's house, okay, apartment for him and his family. One floor is Sunday school. One floor is the auditorium where the preaching happens. The top floor, the roof, is the fellowship area, as you'll see in a few minutes. So they use this entire building. So that's what you see, every direction. So I'm on the top of this roof going different directions to show you that there's mountains in the background no matter where you look. Now, I did take this picture. I was on a cable car. I did take that one and this one. And you notice, so here's Kathmandu. Here's a valley, and there's another city in there. There's a valley, there's another city in there. And a lot of these valleys, people are living in those valleys. So the gospel, we're hoping the gospel will start spreading from here to all the valleys. So here's some of most of the pictures I have of life in Kathmandu are like this, because I'm on the back of a motorcycle. But here's the funny thing. I'm this tall and this wide. and I weigh a certain amount. Not that I'm going to tell you that, but I weigh a certain amount. And the guys in Kathmandu, the Nepalese, are this tall, as you'll see in a picture in a few minutes. And they're like this wide. And so bottom line, transportation is I'm on the back of a motorcycle. And the first time I got on that motorcycle and saw this little dinky guy on this motorcycle, and I'm getting on the back, guess what I pictured? I pictured doing a wheelie through the entire city because I weigh more. So I'm holding on for dear life. And you don't know the customs, you don't know the culture. Can I put my arm around this guy? Is that going to be weird? Do I just grab on? Do I just put my hands in the air and pray, God, please keep me on this side? What do I do? So you're trying to figure it out. Anyway, and these vehicles and other motorcycles, sometimes if there's one intersection, the main intersection, and they don't have any signage. There's no stop signs, no yield signs, no speed limit signs. It is literally every man for himself. Every man for himself. There's one particular intersection where a lot of streets come together. And it is always packed. And so numerous times, I'm on the motorcycle, and there's like a credit card width of space between me and the next car or the next motorcycle. And you can't be Christian in how you deal with traffic. It's not like, yes, please go ahead. Go ahead. I'd love for you to go first. If you did that, you'd never move. You have to be aggressive. And they are aggressive because if you're not aggressive, you don't move. So they're weaving in and out, and I'm holding on for dear life, praying like I've never prayed before. And, that's how it goes. So this is just from the back of a motorcycle, taking pictures. So in the winter time, or when it's cold, there's not too many flies on the chicken and the other things, but warmer months you can imagine. It's not real sanitary. I like this. I don't particularly like eggplant, but they really are pretty. So that was on the side of the road one day. They're selling their stuff. Okay, preaching on a Sunday to 40 to 50 Christians. This was around Christmas time. So you see the decorations. I'm wearing a fleece because it is kind of cool there. Nighttime got to be about 50. Nighttime got to be 50 degrees or so, 45, 50. And I wonder why my room was so cold. See, they don't do much heat. They don't do heat. A lot of their buildings don't have heat. Put on something else. Put on more clothing. So one morning I got up and it was cold in my room, cold. And I opened the blind, the fabric, the drapes, and stuck my arm through the window. Oh, there's no glass here. No wonder I'm freezing every morning. They just live differently than we do. So someone's counting, these ladies are counting the offering at the end of the service in some front corner, and everyone can watch them, which is pretty secure. Teaching 25, 30 pastors. So I want you to notice the grade. You see this road? Again, you're on a mountain somewhere, no matter where you are. I'm dropped off on this motorcycle. He parks his cycle, and we're going up here. So this is halfway to the church. So I just want you to notice the grade here. So I tell my wife, well, Victoria, I got halfway up and had a heart attack and then went the other half. So interesting every day. Okay, so this is teaching, a small group, men and ladies alike. This is Pastor Gore. He's manning the board in case there's stuff to write down. In my translate, I don't recall his name now. They're all dressed in something like, because they're cold. I'm in short sleeves because I'm used to cold, I guess. I don't know. And you'll see ladies on one side, men on the other. This is the only church I've been in, church building, where there's nice carpet. Usually it's concrete. But they're on the floor. That's why. Again, they have our notes in their language. Lunch and fellowship. So notice this right here. What do you see? What does it look like to you? Can you see that? Anyone got a guess? Okay, it's a fish head, and there's the eye right there. I don't do fish. I don't know why. I just hate fish. I don't like the smell of fish. If my wife opens a can of tuna, it's like I'm leaving for an hour. If she opens a can of sardines, I'm leaving for a week. I just don't like fish, anything about fish. So this day we're eating fish. Fish has included eyeballs and all, So this is a typical meal. This is some sort of a meat. This is greens. This is dal. Dal is like a soupy, like a lentil soup. You've ever had lentil soup? Rice, of course, some more meat. And so every day, no matter what else they had, fish eyes, whatever they had, I'd take rice, whoomp, dal, pour it on there. I like dal, dal's fine. And some veggies and sit down and eat. And the pastor's like, oh, you need to eat more, No, I'm fine right here. I don't need any fish eyes. I'm good. So this is the dal and the rice is wonderful. And one day, I think it was Wednesday, he brought me a personal pizza. They want to be a blessing to you. So he brings me this pizza like this big, and I'd already eaten my dal and rice. I ate some of the pizza and handed it out to other people. And they want to be a blessing to you. And this is, for them, not cheap, of course. Now, let me clue you in. Pizza in third world countries never tastes like pizza. Sometimes it's absolutely awful. One time we were in Chad, and we went to a legitimate restaurant, missionaries and I did, and we ordered a pizza, regular meat pizza on one side, veggie pizza on the other. Do you know what veg-all is? You know what veg-all? It's a can of vegetables like corn, lima beans, green beans, chunks of potato, just all this kind of, that's what they did. The vegetable side of the pizza was less like corn, green beans, lima beans. With every bite, I was praying for the rapture. It was awful. It's just awful. They don't know how to make pizza. They're very kind, but they don't know how to make pizza. So here we are on the roof eating, because that's where you're always fellowshipping. They're cold. I'm sorry, skip that one. This is in the morning, and I'm wearing a fleece, and they're all bundled, and I'm drinking tea. I'm not a tea person or a coffee person, but I always drink whatever they give me, tea. So every day, almost every day, I'm drinking my tea, and the leader will come up with a ceramic mug. Like this is an honoring thing. It's got coffee in it. Nescafe. That's their coffee, is Nescafe. So they're honoring us with Nescafe and a real mug, not this little tin thing. They're just very kind to us, and they try and take care of us, which is really nice. So this is the entire group. So just to give you a hint, notice the size of these guys. Okay, they're right there. I'm staying pretty much next to him. I'm a full head taller than him, and I weigh just a little bit more. So you get the picture. This is a supper we had. These are some of the leaders, and we're talking about future ministry together, training, and so forth. I got to hurry here. So, that's Evie. That's my granddaughter. We were in Meyer trying on hats one day, so I thought you'd want to see that because it was wonderful. Teaching in Wa, Ghana in 2024. So Ghana is right here, all right? And you land in Accra, and you take a flight to Wa, which is up here. It's such a small nothing that's not even on the map. There's a Bible college in Wa, a BMM Bible college in Wa, but it's English speaking. And so there are many people that can't get in it. Students, men from the various villages, their English is not strong enough to be able to pass the entrance exam. So you have men who want to be pastors, men who want to get in and serve the Lord and learn and grow, and they can't get in. So now one of their professors, a guy named Matthew Yana, started incorporating PEP to train these men that can't get in the college. With the full blessing of the president of the college. I met with him. This was the first trip to Wa. I've got another one scheduled for 2025. Here's life in Wa. Ghana is so much further along than Chad. It's not far along, but it's further along than Chad. In every regard, it's a little bit better. This is life in Africa. Yams. They grow a ton of yams. If you're a yam fan, Ghana's a place. Okay, teaching pastors and church planters, all men in this case. That's the building. This is a church building that we're teaching in, and I'm teaching for a week. Again, they have our notes the first day. It's hot, but not as hot as Chad. This particular trip, I taught Systematic Theology 1. I'm going back in a few months, and I'll teach Systematic 2. Most of these men have no training at all. And there's no way they're going to get it unless a ministry like us is involved. Eating fellowship, Q&A, we decided, every day we're doing Q&A. Typically it's at the end of the day we do Q&A. Any questions you have from the whole day, right? So we decided to do it at lunchtime because we sat under a large tree at lunchtime where it was a little bit cool. We decided to do the Q&A there, so that worked out really well. So this is rice and some little bits of fish, and it's fine. I had no problem. So then one day they break out fish, and they hand myself, and there's three of us actually, another American and another African who's British, and we all hate fish. We find out we all hate fish. And they hand us these nice honking fish. Now when they give you fish, the scales are still on it. You have to scale it with your hand, and you have to deal with the eyeball, and then you have to deal with the the bones and all that. Okay, so they hand us all these big fish, and we're like, we're good. God's really been really blessed us. I'm like, give me the smallest piece of fish you have. So I think this is the one I got, and just charred. So I just slowly nibbled on that charred piece of fish. I milked that for like a half hour because I didn't want rice and little bits of fish. This is the last night we were there. We're at Matthew Yana's house. You'll see a picture of Matthew in a second. And we had goat. So this is like boule in a peanut sauce. That was fully edible to me. Water and goat. But the goat was so tough. I'm working on this goat. And I'm thinking, I must have the wimpiest teeth. Wimpy American teeth. I can't get my teeth in this goat. I had the same problem in Chad one time. The chicken we were served was so tough, it was like leather. And I handed it over to Gideon, my trainer. Here, just take this. He wolfed right through it. They must sharpen their teeth once a week or something. I don't know how they do it. So I couldn't eat this goat. So Matthew, this is wonderful, but I'm not able to eat. Here, you take it. And he just wolfed it down. Dropped the bone on the table and, went on and ate more goat. I don't know how they do it. So here's the group we taught that week. This is Matthew Yana that night at his house trying to eat goat. He gave us a very traditional garment from that culture. Matthew's a great guy. Has his bachelor's from the college I mentioned earlier. Then went on and got a master's degree. Now he teaches at the college, and he's spearheading this training of others using PEP as the teachers, that's exactly what we want to be doing, so it's perfect for us. So, okay, pray for us, pray for additional financial support, other ministry partners. Pray for me as I go overseas. I'll be leaving in a week and 2 days for Chad. Pray for additional PEP team members. There were 4 couples. One has retired. One has retired, mostly retired, and definitely not going overseas. At least 2 men going overseas, where it used to be 4. So, the one guy, Ken Lovell, ministered in Peru. He speaks Spanish well. We're aiming him at Mexico and Hispanic countries. I'm the one going to Asia and Africa and so forth. So we need more full-time missionaries like us on the team. So please be praying for that. Let me say something regarding to this. So we realized about, 9-10 months ago that most people, of course, get a cost of living increase, right? oh, you get one every couple of years? We don't get those. So after 10 years of ministry, and then the present administration and the way inflation has gone, we realized we were really financially struggling, and we were feeling it. We talked to Baptist Missions, and they said, oh yeah, you need to be bringing in a lot more than you are now bringing in to live in this world, live in Michigan. So I put an email out to all of our supporting churches. Your pastor responded, I think, with a phone call like the next day and said, we want to help you. And you all helped us with, you gave a gift of $4,000 right away to immediately help us with the shortfall so that while we're gaining more support, there was money there to meet this need. So listen, that was an amazing thing. We appreciate so much your pastor and you caring for us in that way. It certainly met the need. And we're almost up now to where we need to be. And so we're very thankful for the way the Lord used you. Thank you. We've got 2 minutes. Any significant questions we can get done in 2 minutes? Yep.
I love what you're doing, but I'm trying to get a feel for the culture that you're working in. So increasing Muslim influence in these countries, and what about the Christian influence? Is it mostly Western kind of behavior where you're giving nice terms of scripture?
Yeah, first of all, it's cultures. So if you're in Nepal, if you're in Mexico, if you're in Chad, if you're in Ghana, the cultures, if you're in India, they're different. Obviously, in some of these places, there's great Muslim, there are some great Muslim strongholds. Other places, there's Roman Catholicism. We were in Nepal. The hotel, the guest house we were staying at right across the street was a huge Roman Catholic church. Okay, so you're going to get Hinduism, Islam, Christianity is always kind of the small margin in these countries. Persecution in some places, not in others. Now in our case, I've never faced persecution because what we do is pretty much under the radar. In the morning we're driven to a place, we teach men, we're driven back to that place, the next day we do the same thing. We're not doing street preaching, that kind of thing. So we've not faced any direct persecution. I know pastors who have in other ministries, especially, what's that? No. Yeah, it doesn't. Well, and the other thing is sometimes these men are sleeping on the compound. So they basically never leave the place, where it's not like people are noticing people are leaving, throughout the day and so forth. So that's not to say we've never, we've had to cancel trips to different places. Bangladesh. I was going to go to Bangladesh one time, and we had to cancel that because there was persecution at that particular moment, and Americans would have been targeted if they, I'd have been the one they kidnapped. That's the kind of thing that was happening. So there have been times when we've had to cancel trips. We trust the leaders. They know what's happening in their culture, and so they'll keep a thumb on that and get back to us. And in Myanmar, I was scheduled to go to Myanmar 3 years ago, and did a Zoom call with our leader there, and he said, nope, you're not coming. Now, I've got a trip planned to Myanmar in 2024. There's civil war there, and we'll see if I end up going or not. So we do the best we can to know what's happening in these places.
Are you seeing a change in discipleship where men are growing into a role?
You do. In fact, last time I was in Chad, our bus broke down for 2 hours. I had to bring another bus. And so we're staying there at dusk, and there's a village right across the street. So let's just walk around the village. Guy comes out, he was one of my students at a previous, in Chad, previous classes. And he's pastoring there in that little village. And I can't speak. The challenge for me is I don't speak their language. So the ability to fellowship is at a very low, kind of a thin level. Through a translator is the best I can get. How are you? How's your family? Translated. And how's the ministry? And you can't get into a lot of deep conversations because of that kind of thing. But yeah, we're seeing evidence of growth and churches being pastored better, preaching being better than before. Not as much as we'd like to see, to be honest, because they still the older generation are preaching the old way, and those are the models. And a lot of our students are assistant pastors to those men, and even they may not be able to have much of an impact for another 8 or 10 years when the senior pastor passes away or whatever. So we want to see more, but it's very similar to here. How many people graduating from Bible college end up serving the Lord faithfully? This many people go, and this many people are faithful. So it's not dissimilar, really. Okay, we have to stop. I'm going to be here, so please approach me, ask any questions you have. I'll do the best I can to answer. If I don't have the answer, I'll just lie. So just ask me any question you have. All right. Okay, I'll pray real fast. Thank you, Father, for your kindness and goodness. Thank you for this good church and their